horror hounds, let me take you back to a more innocent, magical age. A time called the 90s, where your movie didn't have to make $1 billion before you could greenlight a sequel, and even a modest hit would get a follow-up. And lo, Wishmaster begat Wishmaster 2, a film whose refrain throughout the story is fulfill the prophecy. And one can only assume that the prophecy was there shall come a sequel to Wishmaster, which covers an awful lot of the same beats, only for much less of the money and with much less enjoyment and satisfaction to be had from it. Prophecy fulfilled, guys. Good job. God damn it, but Wishmaster 2 is a frustrating proposition. There are nuggets in there. There are ideas and things that had so much potential, hamstrung by completely redundant other sections of the movie, as well as the entire affair being completely hobbled by an insistence on slashing the budget. With his script for the first movie, Peter Atkins, who scripted a ton of the Hellraiser movies, gave us a beautiful self-contained mythology, and it's one that this film feels the need to constantly tweak. But unfortunately, none of the tweaks are improvements. In fact, pretty much all of the tweaks make the movie suffer in comparison to the first one. Instead of charging up the gem upon release with some souls, the Djinn is now charged with having to collect 1,001 souls before he can face the Waker and give her 3 wishes. And there's a point in the movie where it becomes clear that the script understands that it's set itself a hurdle that's far too high to jump over, and rather than going back and just extracting that 1,001 souls nonsense, it just grants the Djinn the ability to grant blanket wishes for hundreds of people all at once who haven't verbally entered this contract with him and offered their souls, and it's cheating. There are 2 strands to this movie. There's the Djinn in prison collecting souls, which is awesome but expensive, and there's the Waker and her ex, who's now a priest, hunk priest, whining at one another, talking back and forth about faith and the power of God and forgiveness and Persian mythology, and that's boring, but it's cheap. So guess which one this film spends most of its time on? That's right, folks. Never mind that the Djinn in the movie series has its origins in Persia and all the internet online research that's done on the one web page about Persian mythology. This film's going to crowbar Christianity into it, and on top of that, it's going to get really, really preachy. This film is so ultra conservative that I've got to admit, it really turned me off. Not content with trying to find another tricksy, neat little twisty way of outsmarting the devil with your 3 wishes, our Waker, an art thief, murderer type, alternative, goth, post-punk protagonist, criminal, winds her way back into the life of her ex-boyfriend, who is now a hunky priest, constantly gazing at him as though she wants to jump on him all the time, whilst he gets to preach to her about the power of forgiveness and taking God into your heart. And they manage to bolt Christian mythology and that sort of evangelizing onto the Persian myth of the Djinn, so that she can do the same as the shaman in Persia did with the gem and trap the Djinn if she takes the light of God into her and is pure of heart. And apparently the way you become pure of heart in this movie is you take your makeup off, you take out all your piercings and all your rings, you stop wearing your cool alternative goth gear and put on a nice simple conservative printed dress and a nice cardi, and then go to confession, cut your little finger off. Can someone please explain to me why she had to cut her little finger off to become pure? And then just before, once you purified yourself by not listening to new metal anymore, you fuck the priest and then go to a Las Vegas casino to face the devil. Meanwhile, across town, Andrew Divoff is yucking it up, having a riled time playing the shit out of this character, probably even more so than he did in the first film, having a whale of a time granting wishes in prison and collecting souls and becoming the mover and shaker in the jail. And that's the story you want to see. It's just the story that they don't show you, because if they showed him granting all of these wishes, they'd have to spend money on more special effects. There are less wishes, there's less gore, even though it is gory. And then when he gets out of jail, he goes with his little acolyte, now one of this Russian underworld, who wants to move up through the ranks of the Russian underworld, and the Djinn becomes part of that. And this is the movie that I want to see. I want to see the Djinn goes to jail, and then the Djinn rises up through the ranks of the Russian mob. You told the wrong story, guys. You really told the wrong story. And it's unfortunate because Divoff again knocks it out of the park. He's having an absolute blast. Him and a couple of the wishes are probably the only real reasons to watch this film. If you want to see the film destroyed by lack of budget anywhere, it's in the big finale. Whereas the first movie started with an enormous kick-ass scene of chaos in ancient Persia and ended at the art party, probably even more full of chaos and special effects and gore. This one ends, again, a great idea. Where will a Djinn go to grant wishes? Where are people radiating out wishes to the universe, other than a casino in Las Vegas where greed and selfishness are the coin of the realm? It's a fantastic place to put the Djinn, just like putting him in jail was a fantastic place. But then the final deluge into utter chaos is absolutely laughable. We get deadly card machines killing people by firing playing cards at them, and a roulette wheel that sprouts spikes and starts rolling around, spiking people, although you never actually see that happen because that would cost money. It's nonsense. On page, there's stuff in this that sounds phenomenal, but as soon as you start stripping back and cutting back to the bone, further and further and further, cutting all the meat off of it, what you get is a really weak-ass looking film. Of course, I'm not such a rampant egomaniac anymore to think that my view and opinion is the only one that matters. So what I've started to do is cull alternate viewpoints from the Internet Movie Database user reviews. The first one we've got, called One of the Best Horror Movies of the 90s, comes from Dark 1714. And Dark 1714, I think, is developing a little bit of a crush. See if you can guess who it's on. Man, this movie is so cool. I just bought it recently, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. It rules, and I keep watching it at least every couple of weeks. And the reason I keep watching it is not because of the gory scenes or the great special effects. It's because of one thing. Andrew Divoff. He is just awesome. I love his little evil grin, his voice, his comments. Every time he's on screen, when I see him, no matter what he is doing or saying, I just can't help but laugh. Every time I see his grin, I can't help but grin too. He's so funny. No matter if he's saying something not funny, just his voice and how he says it and how he looks when he says it makes me laugh. Seriously, every single scene he is in, the whole movie, I just can't get that grin off my face. Every line he has says, I think is so funny. But aside from that, I think this is one of the best movies to come out in the last 10 years. That reminds me of the glory days of A Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie could have come from the 80s, in my opinion. The Wishmaster could be the Freddy Krueger of the 90s. He could have been, but they fucked him over. I hope they make many more of these movies. So forget about any of these 90s crappy wannabe horror movies and go right out and buy this movie. Wishmaster rules. And after that, we've got Dr. Gonzo 91, who proclaims that it lives up to the first. I'm a huge fan of the Wishmaster movie. The Djinn has the makings for a classic horror movie villain. That said, here we go. Now, I was a bit skeptical of seeing this movie at first. It just appeared on the shelf at my local Blockbuster. No theatrical release, no buzz, nothing. So I was expecting a pretty poor movie. I was pleasantly incorrect. It may not be as good as the first, but hey, what sequels are? This flick is gory as they come. I always wince when I see the guy being pushed through the jailhouse bars. And what can you not like about Andrew Divoff? He is the second evilest man alive, next to Christopher Walken. I carried this watch up my ass. Heh. Anyways, I was impressed with this movie. Even if you're not a fan of the first movie, or gore in general, it's worth watching for Divoff's classy performance. That final sentiment I will agree with. Unfortunately, the Wishmaster franchise, after Wishmaster 2, was consigned to direct-to-video hell. And we're following it all the way down, baby.